Is it going to go, Ross? Is it going? Look at that. Okay, hi, my name is Elizabeth Schulte. I'm going to be talking about what downtown Salem was like in the 1870s. I'm not going to talk about Twitter at all, even remotely. I promise I'm not going to mention it even once. Okay, so, what? I did. Crap. Oh my gosh, you're right. Okay, so what was Salem like before 1870? Go. Slide. Well, I can tell you that it was a very religious community. There we go. It was very religious. It was a very pious community, hardworking, interested in hauling cow pies in wheelbarrows and hanging out with creepy-ass ghost children. Like, you can completely see through her skirt. So we're going to completely skip Salem before 1870 because they were boring. So we're going to move on. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Salem after 1870. All the money started coming in from the gold miners down in California. They came back up to the Mid-Willamette Valley, and suddenly they had money to spend on drinking and prostitutes and gambling, and Salem downtown got a lot more exciting after that. Yeah, exactly. So what was Salem like? Ben Maxwell tells us it was small. This is most of Salem, somewhat lacking in gentility, unsanitary by modern standards, self-satisfied, and dull. That was the large majority of Salem in 1870. He was a newspaper reporter. But there was a small group who whooped it up in the town's numerous saloons, were occasionally seen around Maggie Gardner's place, a house of ill repute, which I will touch on later, and engaged in fisticuffs, rowdy combat, and undignified displays on the streets on Saturday afternoons. Most of those undignified displays, as you can see, took place right here. Right there. Which was on the east side of Liberty Street in between Court and State Streets, which was actually also home, yeah, exactly, now home to Engelbert Antiques, that house of ill repute. But at the time, it was Salem's Chinatown, if you can believe that. What? Wait, what? Chinatown? We had John Patch-Eye Burns' Crystal, where the quote says, "Red eye liquor came for a dime and a black eye came for free." Sandy Burns' North Star, which was Salem's only troupe of dancing girls. It was also full of opium dens and Chinese rookeries, which were basically abandoned slums with no sanitation that the Chinese people lived in this downtown area. A lot of the doctors were opposed to closing down this section of downtown because they were making a killing off of all of the easily treatable diseases that they were then treating. The newspaper headline about Chinatown was "Death from Dirt and Horrible Filth in Chinese Quarters." And my favorite part was there was a massive greenish decomposing slime, the extracted filth from thousands of pairs of discarded undergarments. But it was a lot better than the Indian camp, which was over in Pringle Creek, which was described as a nuisance where low-grade whites consorted with the Aborigines and where whiskey seemed to be free. Almost every night, the camp was the scene of a drunken riot and such disgraceful orgies as truly made the night hideous. It was also home to Salem's hanging tree. This is a photograph of the hanging tree, only known photograph in existence, so I'm sorry about the poor quality. It's now buried underneath the Safe Corporation parking lot. But yeah, we did have a hanging tree for quite a while there. Most of the time, it was a case of like vigilante justice. You know, the first actual hanging was a guy who was involved in a land dispute. Not really that interesting. But it was a main source of entertainment in Salem for quite some time. As you can see, yeah, it was right there. The map is kind of sideways, so the river is up, and we're over here. You see what I mean? Yeah. So, okay, good. So that's it. That's the hanging grounds. But yeah, like I said, it was a main source of entertainment for a long time in Salem. School children would go to watch the hangings, and they would, I know, right? And they would bring packed lunches with them, like field trips. And also, you could purchase comfortable second-story windows in the buildings surrounding the hanging grounds so that the ladies wouldn't have to soil their complexion watching the hangings. There was also, of course, like I said, vigilante justice. There was a tar and feathering of a common drunkard that occurred in, I think, 1890. And then, of course, there was the infamous case of Miss Alma Louise, a female criminal in early Salem, which I will get to as soon as we get to the next slide. So we're just going to wait for the next slide real quick. There we go. Miss Alma Louise Wurzburger. She'd only been married for 3 months. Her husband's name was Joseph. And this was in, I think, like 1902, 1903 maybe. She woke up in the middle of the night having an asthma attack and woke up her husband Joseph saying, "Help me, get my medication for me." And what did Joseph say, that helpful man? He said, "I hope you choke to death." And so she ran downstairs and got her asthma medication and very calmly took her asthma medication and then got a hammer and beat him to death. And as you can see, that fracture in his skull there is what Alma did to Joseph for being so supremely helpful. Of course, she wasn't the only famous female in Salem history. There was also Miss Norma Judson Stapler. She was married into the Judson family, who everybody's heard of. Very rich, powerful family in early Salem. She had a really messy, horrible divorce and was basically kind of thrown out of society. So she made up a new identity as Madame Squires, Salem's first bearded lady. She went on tour on the road with the Ringling Brothers Circus, pretended she was from Massachusetts, but she totally wasn't. She was from Salem. And she had a quite successful career as a bearded lady. She actually wrote a book about herself called An Account of a Celebrated Woman, which you can get at the library. And of course, I couldn't talk about Salem Dark Side without talking about famous spooky, ooky, haunted stuff. Hauntings in Salem, Governor's Mansion, Fairview Mental Hospital, which I wanted to talk about, but I don't have enough time, the State Mental Hospital, the Pioneer Cemetery, Elsinore Theater, and Mission Mill is supposedly haunted by a man named Wayne, which is the worst name for a ghost I've ever heard of in my entire life. Not even scary at all. So today you'll learn about Chinatown, the brothels, the Indian camp, the hanging ground, a murder by hammer, a bearded lady, a ghost named Wayne, and exactly how quickly Elizabeth can talk. Thank you. Yeah.